Former PIC CEO Dan Matjila says he's not corrupt, nor has he ever accepted a bribe from VBS Mutual Bank. In fact, he's blaming two former PIC officials for the VBS debacle. Matjila was testifying before the PIC inquiry. Heidi Jakas, of course, covering that story for us. She joins us now in studio. So Dan Matjila says he can't take responsibility for what happened at VBS. So how does he explain the PIC losing all that money?
Exactly. So he's explained to the PIC Commission of Inquiry that the PIC decided to appoint two top executives, Paul Magula and Ernest Nesane, to actually steer the deal with the PIC and VBS Mutual Bank. He says they had roots within vendor, and it was important for the executives to be very familiar with the situation. So he's saying that those two individuals felt very comfortable with VBS Mutual Bank, decided to take loans with VBS without disclosing this to the PIC. And of course, when you are in such a dealing, you're not even supposed to be taking any kind of loan. Basically looted money within VBS Mutual Bank, and he's saying he can't take any responsibility for that. He says nobody could have foreseen what happened with VBS Mutual Bank, and they trusted those two top executives. That's why they appointed them to oversee what's going on in VBS Mutual Bank. One must remember that the PIC inherited 26% of VBS shareholding. It gave them a 435 million rand credit facility and extended that, I think, in 2017 to 350 million. So we're talking about millions here that they actually gave to VBS Mutual Bank. That's all been lost because we all know where VBS has ended up.
Yeah. So we do have a clip on this, right, on him explaining.
Yes, let's just listen to what Dan Matjila had to say about the dealings with VBS Mutual Bank.
Yet, institutions such as African Bank almost fell through the net, and VBS did fall through the net. So where was the regulator when all this was happening?
Yeah, that's interesting and obviously relevant questions. Recently, of course, a leaked report showing that Matjila received a loan on favorable terms from the bank, and another report, of course, showing that he got a bribe from VBS. How is he answering to these allegations or findings?
Exactly. So the first report that he's referring to is the Great Bank Heist report by Terry Mattel, Senior Counsel, which basically says that Dan Matjila had received a 5 million rand bribe from VBS Mutual Bank so that the PIC can extend their credit loan facility. The second allegation about him receiving a loan or a bribe, whichever one you want to call it, is the recent leaked Nexus report that UDM leader Bantu Holomisa had brought to light, where he said that Matjila had received an over 2 million rand loan on favorable terms. But he's saying that he denies this allegation. He denies ever receiving any kind of bribe from VBS Mutual Bank or any kind of loan, and he says these allegations are unfounded. Let's just listen to what he had to say about that.
Linked in a personal matter to the debacle that is VBS has to be the lowest of the law in allegations about my leadership at the PIC. What's more, as someone who has placed integrity above all other values, the mere suggestion that I would accept a bribe is abhorrent to me and deeply upsetting to my wife and my children.
There's, of course, another allegation regarding PIC beneficiaries and transaction fees. You had to answer on that as well.
Yes, so let me just take you back as to where this actually stems from. So SA Home Loans and the PIC were in a deal together where the PIC gave SA Home Loans a 9 billion rand loan. But the problem started here when MMI, a company owned by Khulufelo Maponya, was demanding what he called transaction origination fees. So he was asking the PIC or SA Home Loans to pay him for originating the deal, which the PIC and SA Home Loans are saying, you didn't originate the deal because we gave you the loan to buy a share in SA Home Loans. But Khulufelo Maponya was insisting on 45 million rand, and then he pushed it up to 95 million rand. And the allegation comes from the fact that Khulufelo Maponya is saying that the PIC, Dan Matjila, promised him this origination fee, and SA Home Loans, when they testified, they said that under no circumstances is anybody entitled to any kind of transaction origination fee. So, of course, the time came for Dan Matjila to give his answer as to where this stems from. Like, why did Khulufelo Maponya even feel entitled to this kind of money? And Dan Matjila saying that, Khulufelo Maponya was adamant and persistent. He was even sending threatening messages messages to him saying that he wants that 95 million rand. Matjila says that there is no way that Khulufelo Maponya was entitled to that money. It was in no contract. It was in no agreement between SA Home Loans and the PIC and MMI, his company, and that, you know, this matter is actually sitting with the courts now, because Khulufelo Maponya is saying he wants his money. SA Home Loans is saying we can't give you that money. It's way too much. It's in no agreement. And the PIC now, Dan Matjila, is saying we never promised him that money.
All of these twists and turns in the PIC inquiry are fascinating. Thanks so much for that, Heidi Jocko.